Okay, so kita go to the next question. Soalan seterusnya. Adakah asatiza kita, ustaz-ustaz kita, ustazah kita kat Singapura ni, contoh yang baik untuk kesihatan?
Alright, susah saya nak katakan secara keseluruhannya. Kerana jumlah asatizah sebenarnya kat Singapura ni ramai. I think last count ada about 3,000 plus, 3,000 lebih asatizah yang dekat Singapura yang registered. Yang tak register banyak juga kan. So, to speak on behalf of 3,000 susah. But I can speak on behalf of myself. For me, the awareness on health before this was not that high. Kita could get scot free, kita boleh bebas daripada tuduhan ataupun kecaman badan besar dan sebagainya lah. Kerana majlis-majlis keagamaan selalunya dihubungkan dengan makan. Kalau ada maulid, mesti dia berani. Kalau dapat karipap, orang tak nak datang lagi maulid tu. Kalau karipap atau epok-epok je dengan air kotak, tak nak datang lagi. Tapi dia mesti nasi berani, berminyak dan sebagainya. Daging kambing mesti mau. Air sirap at least lah. Kasih can lah sirap. Teh tarik lepas tu. So, the whole concoction of ataupun the experience of religious punya experience ataupun keagamaan selalunya is linked to this lah. And of course, even though orang tahu makan nak kena berpada-pada sebagai satu sunnah, but that has not been the underlying message lah dan sebagainya. Dan kita selalunya indulge. Kalau tak makan dosa dan sebagainya. But the messaging should be, bukan salah nak makan makanan. Nak makan nasi berani makan lah. But instead of having 4 sedulang, why not have 6? Kan, commemorate portion control, get more people to share, replace with other choices of water dan drink dan sebagainya. Kalau teh susu, at least tukar teh yang kurang manis dan sebagainya. A lot could be done lah. And I believe over the years with certain messagings daripada HPB dan sebagainya, I think the awareness starts to kick in. Now, kalau secara purata asatiza, are they doing a good job nowadays? I would believe yes. InsyaAllah, dan I hope so that my fellow comrades dan colleagues, sahabat-sahabat saya, as far as I know, they are doing ataupun they are leading a healthy lifestyle. They are promoting intermittent fasting. They are no longer sharing the indulgence of food online dan sebagainya. Usually they will share makan apa hari ni dan sebagainya. Makan tempat yang sedap, makan nasi kambing seekor dan sebagainya. If they do, diorang simpan kerana itu mungkin satu keaiban lah. They don't share. But what they share, usually of the colleagues ataupun the close contacts that I know, their efforts in trying to build a healthy lifestyle. Now you see more asatizahs on Strava. Kan, clocking in the number of hours kat cycling, saya pun included juga. Kan, even though as little as even 8 kilometers, but that is something that we push ourselves for. Kan, at least we're doing something kan. And then I've seen a lot of asatizah sharing, sekarang dah trend kat Strava buat map, buat image kan, kepala Merlion lah apalah. Ada yang nak buat bulan sabit dengan bintang, macam mana dia buat tak tahulah, dia angkat basikal. So suka hati dia lah. But technically the younger asatizah, I'm not blaming the older ones because maybe they're not socially present on social media, but the younger ones, as how I'm concerned with, even the most degil one that I know of are now on the steps ataupun the process of trying to introduce a healthy lifestyle to themselves lah. Dan they start to share about controlling their diet dan sebagainya. One of them that I'm really amazed of is, I think one of our earlier speakers, Ustaz Syahrin. Saya belajar dengan dia kat Syria dulu juga. Memang kita tahu selera dia macam mana. Selera kita sama lah. Tapi the fact that he was able, even at his age, to go through such a hard regime on himself, to go through cold turkey dan to motivate himself positively, that was an amazing feat lah. Dan saya rasa gembira kerana that asatizahs are realizing this. And insyaAllah, dia bukan nak menunjuk, tapi dia lebih kepada memberi semangat kepada asatizah lain untuk membabitkan diri mereka dengan gaya kehidupan yang lebih sihat. Dan para jemaah juga nanti, dia listeners ke apa, will respect them more lah dan sebagainya. The reason for me, kenapa I try to, ataupun I'm on the process of losing more weight, now that you see me, of course, orang yang tak pernah jumpa saya nampak Ustaz besar lagi kan, he's still big dan sebagainya. If you to compare 4 years ago, 5 years ago, or on the day of my marriage kan, I will not look like now lah. I will look really really sloppy dan sebagainya. In fact, one of the motivations for me to lose weight was to take a photo shoot with my wife. Sejak saya kahwin, saya tak pernah ada photo shoot. Because despite the fact that I'm just living macam biasa je sebagai seorang yang berbadan besar dan sebagainya, deep inside I tahu, ini masalah orang gemuk. And I know that whichever angle I duduk, it will not save me. Sekarang angle boleh save me. My certain angle, it will save me dulu. Ustaz nampak kurus gila kan? Because angle, tapi saya masih besar. I'm still on the pathway of losing more weight, insyaAllah, doakan. But one of the semangat is because I was telling myself, as a promise, I would like to take a photo shoot with my wife. Because she already terima seadanya, one of the best gift I could give is to look better for her. Itu number one. Number two is also to motivate me. I've never, in my adult life, went to a store and bought and purchased shirts and pants off the rack. The fact that I could do it now, I'm amazed with myself. I could actually do shopping, pergi ke kedai, tengok ada harapan nak beli. Jangan kata baju macam gini je lah. Baju kurung pun sekarang dah boleh. Rasa gembira. Jubah pun sekarang dah boleh. So I tak payah pergi tailor. Kesian tailor dah tak ada business. So, but that is more of a motivation for me. And now that I believe that, okay lah, Alhamdulillah dah boleh beli. No, I used to wear 7XL, 6XL. Now I'm at 2XL. Yeah, but I'm trying more because I ikut cara Chef Bob pula. Dia daripada 7, 6XL, dia sekarang L aja. Ataupun kadang-kadang dia pakai M. So I try to be like him lah, insyaAllah. Kalau tak pun, jadi lebih sihat je. Because kita akan rasa ringan, sedap. And people were telling me that I sound different now. I look different, I sound different. And the aura that I emit sometimes a little bit different. Not sloppy, not less confident dan sebagainya. So insyaAllah lah, for those of you who are on the brink of nak hilangkan weight kan, I really implore and I really invite you to try this out. It's not going to be easy, tapi it's rewarding, insyaAllah.
I think Ustaz shared a lot of things that you went through on your own. One of the things you shared was that when somebody is on, we are pergi majlis, dapat makan makanan sedap kan, biryani, air manis, bandung, teh tarik. I had a friend, just to share an experience, in fact he shared a stage with you at Expo, I think a couple of years back. He was at the brink of surgery, gastric sleeve. So he told me what he had to do was to stay away from majlis for a while. Because he knew he couldn't overcome that. When the biryani is presented in front of him, dia tak boleh say no, or he couldn't portion control back then. So he stayed away for a while, for a few weeks, few months. Then after he felt that he can handle it better, then he came back to the majlis and all that. So I think you had a very good strategy to overcome it, which is cold turkey kan. You kata then you used infused water and all that to get I think that's a very good strategy.
Correct. You need to break that glass and then just do it, right?
Dia nak kena buat je lah. Cuma I think that one a bit drastic lah. Cuma kalau if I'm at your friend's place, instead of not attending, saya attend. Cuma I know the perasaan macam tak nak pergi lah, nanti makan dan sebagainya, because you tak boleh control apa. I was like that. I had to travel, lepas tu join ulama-ulama lah, masyarakat makan. And diorang jenis macam, makan lagi. Kan? So what I did was, I eat slowly, I engage more. Nanti diorang yang makan banyak. I did not give a chance for them to speak to me. I berbual. So makan 2-3 suap, sampai habis. Ustaz dah habis, tambah lagi. Alhamdulillah, cukup. So I controlled myself. Taktik. So try not to dan sebagainya. Eat responsibly. So if you know that you're going for a majlis kan, tweak your IF lah, ataupun tweak your meals lah. Limit yourself to 2 meals per day. And then if you know you're going for a certain majlis, sekarang majlis pun dah bilang you beforehand, you nak kena datang at certain timing. So you know you punya session 11 to 1 kan. So skip breakfast ke apa ke, then go straight for brunch for that day. And then lepas tu space out your next meal lah.
Plan your strategy
lah. Pun sama. So less gravy dan sebagainya. In fact, of late I've done a lot of Rasul punya cara dining with Nabi Muhammad SAW. It was amazing. Nabi tak reject makan pun. Nabi makan.
Ni kira makan cara sunnah lah.
Okay, sunnah ni banyak. Sunnah ada items, ada dia punya approach dan sebagainya. So the tradition of the Prophet SAW is to accept as many food as possible. He does eat food. He did enjoy fine dining. When I say fine dining, nak kena faham bukan pakai fork and spoon. Oh, this amazing dish. No, it was not that. It was not that. The Prophet really eat responsibly. And he did not, he did not indulge. He enjoyed. He did not indulge. He was thankful for the food and he did not ask more. And he was leading a very simple life of not having more than 2 ataupun 3 different concoctions of drinks ataupun meals on the plate. But whenever someone served him good food, he will smile and he will enjoy. And he will eat responsibly. And he will actually engage with a lot of people. And the Prophet always said, the best food is the one that can be shared with many people. Now, having said that, pergilah majlis, pergilah invitation dan sebagainya, eat responsibility, engage with people, enjoy the food, but do not overindulge. Do not overindulge. It's amazing the Prophet cara. One of the hadith of the Prophet SAW is Nabi punya roti ni not macam kita punya roti. Nabi punya wholemeal bread is actually more wholemeal than wholemeal. Atuk pada wholemeal. In fact, he made bread
Bukan gandum
not gandum, out of barley, rye, and really it's really dry and coarse. Kasar. I ever had it when I was studying in Syria. When I did a visit dan kita pergi to one of the oldest living civilizations that was from zaman Nabi Isa. So they were Coptic Christians lah, and they were speaking in Aramaic dan sebagainya. So the bread that they eat was actually a bread that went down to tradition sampai zaman Nabi SAW. So Nabi makan roti, bukan dia buat roti tu. Roti tu memang dah jadi tradisi orang-orang susah makan daripada zaman Nabi Isa. So he continued that bread lah. And that is roti yang paling tak sedap, paling dry dan sebagainya. You cecah dengan kuah pun memang tak ada rasa lah, kering lah. So kalau you kata betul ikut sunnah Nabi, makanlah roti Nabi, you tak boleh makan. And that's why the Prophet cecah dengan sauce like vinegar to overpower the taste of the dryness and coarseness. So kalau kita kata makan roti ikut cara Nabi, you punya roti is white bread, roti baguette, croissant dan sebagainya kan.
Lembut, sedap kan.
In fact, ada satu hadis, sahabat tanya, Ya Rasulullah, kau tak makan roti yang dibuat daripada gandum ke? Fine flour. Zaman Nabi dah ada fine flour. The Prophet tanya balik, what is fine flour? What is fine flour? Apa tu fine flour? Bukan sebagai satu soalan yang dia tak tahu. Nabi tahu. Tapi Nabi tanya balik, apa tu fine flour? Apa tu fine flour? So, in fact, bila Nabi makan that coarse bread pun, ada satu hadis Sayyidina Aisyah radhiyallahu anha, dikatakan bahawa Nabi SAW, even to the extent roti yang tak sedap sangat tu, Nabi tak akan makan 2 hari berturut-turut. Nabi akan space it out. Hari ni makan, besok tak makan lagi benda yang sama. Lusa tulak baru makan lagi. That's how the Prophet is lah. And whenever he enjoyed a certain food, Nabi akan baca banyak doa to space out the makan. So dia makan satu suap, dan dia akan zikir, dia akan berbual dengan orang, dia akan really thankful, bersyukur sangat, dan dia makan suap lagi. Satu hadis, he was given one of the best meals ever lah. So Nabi ditanyakan, Ya Rasulullah, kamu suka makan apa? What do you like to eat? So Nabi cakap, aku suka makan daging. Dan kalau aku minta pada Allah SWT, if I were to ask Allah SWT to give me this beautiful food, daging ni, nescaya Allah akan kasih hari-hari. Tapi aku tak minta. So again, Nabi enjoy, tak salah nak enjoy good food, but do not overindulge. Jangan melebih lah. Berpada-pada. Itu satu benda yang susah tu.
Susah. Susah. Especially bila dah dihidangkan dengan satu dulang kan, biryani lah, apalah, memang susah.
Yes.
Tapi kalau kita ingatkan cara Rasulullah SAW, sunnah Rasulullah SAW, dan juga kalau kita baca sirah Rasulullah SAW tak ada perut yang tak ada perut keluar. It's flat.
It's flat, yes. In fact, kalau dia tengok Nabi ni dia ada muscle. Six pack lah. Nak kata six pack pun susah. Tapi dia ada muscle. Badannya tu berketak-ketuk.
Tegap lah.
Dia bukanlah macam bodybuilder tak. Tapi badan dia tegap, broad shoulders to show that he did weights, chest dia out dan sebagainya. And his stomach didn't have a flabby meat ataupun excess of skin dan sebagainya. So he was really not overly toned, tapi he was toned lah. Dia ada body lah, insyaAllah.
The next question. I think there's a lot of good points there in the hadith story. The story itself of our Prophet is amazing. So how is that? Health is an amanah daripada Allah SWT.
Yeah. In fact, a lot of times Allah SWT ingatkan dalam Al-Quran Al-Karim, kita sebagai orang beriman, kita nak kena jaga ketakwaan kita dan keimanan kita. One of the dangers of overeating, overindulging adalah kita jadi leka dan lalai. Kita leka dan kita lalai. Bila dah makan sedap nak bangun pun susah. Kalau Ramadan kita ingat kan, lepas buka tu yang kata tarawih, nak bangun untuk maghrib pun tak boleh. Kan? Sampai subuh terus. Kan? So terbaring, terbungkang dan sebagainya. To eat controllably lah. Dalam hadis Nabi SAW pula, dalam satu pesanan Nabi SAW, remember the 5 things that you need to cease before the other 5 things. So Nabi talk about age, Nabi talk about time. One of the things Nabi talk about is health before illness. And health before illness ni, it strongly links up dengan penjagaan kesihatan kita sebagai satu amanah. Kerana in order for you to become better at the sejadah, you must become a person that is stronger and healthier, not too full. Kerana sejadah ni, bila kita nak ibadah lah, the whole movement tu require you being not overly full dan tak malas. Kan? The more time you nak spend ibadah pada Allah SWT, you need to be more hungry ataupun perut nak kena lebih kosong. Senang cakap lah. Kerana kalau penuh sangat, masalah. One of the reasons that motivated me to also try out to the best of my ability to control my food, diet dan sebagainya, is because dalam leading tarawih, kita mengah-mengah. Kalau selalunya lah, bukan cakap apa, selalunya yang kalau soalan geng 8 rakaat versus geng 20 rakaat, dia lebih kepada 8 rakaat mengah nak buat 20 rakaat. Bukan pasal ibadah ke apa, lebih pasal susah nak 28 sudah lah. Jadi imam-imam pun jadi manja. So I ingat 2-3 years back, I dapat 20 rakaat. Allah, I tak check my schedule betul-betul. Sekali satu masjid tu rupanya 20 rakaat. Boleh lah lead, tapi I dah, Allah lah, tadi ada before ni ada iftar punya undangan. Makan pun dah terlebih sikit. Ni sedakwa baru berani. Kan? So alamak, macam mana ni? At the 6 rakaat, I dah almost give up. And jemaah boleh notice lah. Baca rakaat, bila tanya, Ustaz okey tak? Suara dah lain, tune dah lari dan sebagainya. So I balik, I rasa macam, tak perform lah malam ni. Tak perform lah, tak boleh lah, malu lah. So that hit me hard, yang kata tak boleh lah, mana boleh. So last year bila kita, this year lah, bila kita start ada tarawih sikit kan, 8 rakaat, I tanya, tak ada ke masjid 20 rakaat? Ada satu masjid. Satu masjid je. Itu pun challenge because dia nak kena finish within certain timing kan. Dia mengah bukan pasal penat badan besar apa, because nak kena sprint. Alamak, dengan lagu Dondang Sayang macam mana kan. So it's more of your performance in front of God. Allah kasih kita nikmat yang begitu banyak, macam mana kita repay back to Allah SWT. So even kalau to the extent you nak buat benda baik, I think Rahmat pernah join I, dia kasih makan pada orang yang memerlukan, dan it requires energy. Dia memerlukan tenaga. Jadi nak buat baik, you kalau tak sihat, you tak boleh buat baik. Kan? You nak bantu orang, kalau you sendiri tak terbantu, how? Start first with yourself before you help others kan. And the best way to help yourself is to jaga the amanah of looking after yourself, because everything akan dipertanggungjawabkan.
Maksud?
Kerana setiap badan kita, apa yang kita makan, apa yang kita minum, apa yang kita indulge, apa yang kita lakukan, semuanya akan dipertanggungjawabkan oleh Allah SWT. Yang kerana kalau kita lakukan atas dasar tamak haluba, atas dasar nafsu dan sebagainya, itu satu benda yang salah. As simple as that lah. Kerana kita ikut nafsu sarakah kan. Dan nafsu tu bukan hanya involve dengan ada things kan. Makan pun ikut nafsu. Kan? Kerana kita tak boleh control, self-control. The whole idea of religion, other than becoming a good Muslim dan sebagainya, beribadah, taat kepada Allah SWT, adalah to be a disciplined person. And that's a very important thing yang saya kira ramai di golongan kita tak begitu disiplin. So kalau kita tak boleh jaga diri kita, macam mana kita nak jaga diri orang lain, ahli keluarga kita? Dan kalau kita tak boleh jaga diri ahli keluarga kita, macam mana kita nak jaga diri kita dengan Allah SWT? Rasul pernah katakan, kullukum ra'in, all of you are leaders. Kamu semua adalah ketua-ketua. Dan bila kita ketua tu, kullukum ra'in, maknanya you all ni akan dipertanggungjawabkan. Wa kullukum mas'ulatin an ra'iyatihi. Dan kamu semua ni akan dipertanggungjawabkan atas kamu punya orang-orang yang ikut kamu. Jadi, technically bila Allah kata ra'iyati, bukan pasal the external people, tapi your own body parts. If you submit yourself kepada Allah hati, tapi your tangan, kaki semua buat benda yang lain, yang bukan-bukan dan sebagainya, your perut, your ini semua, maka you tak kata jaga keimanan dan ketakwaan you. Dan one of the dastardly sins, kalau kita baca one of the books written by Syamzah Yusof, dia ada banyak inroads to the heart, ataupun benda-benda yang boleh rosakkan hati dan iman. Salah satunya adalah jalan menuju ke perut. So apa yang kita makan ni will affect kita punya hubungan dengan hati kita dengan Allah SWT. So kerana bila you dah ikut nafsu, you nak makan sedap, you dah tak kisah halal haram. You dah tak kisah cara makanan tu dipersiapkan. You tak kira daripada mana sumber tu. A lot of things are interconnected. So makan ni, kalau kita ikut cara Rasul SAW, it's amazing. Dia bukan cara Nabi makan, apa Nabi makan. Selalu orang cakap macam gitu kan. Kita baca doa makan bila?
Sebelum makan.
Dia makanan kat depan kan. Baru orang Bismillahirrahmanirrahim kan. Nabi baca doa makan, the moment dia duduk dan safra dibentangkan. Dia duduk aja, safra dibentangkan, Nabi dah mula baca Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Allah barik lana. Makanan belum sampai lagi. So Nabi dah mula makan je gitu.
Dah pasang niat lah kira.
Pasal niat dia dah minta Allah keberkatan. Makanan yang kita makan kadang-kadang tak ada berkat. Dia halal tapi tak berkat. So makanan yang tak berkat ni akan menjejas mutu keimanan kita.
Banyak revelation ni. Ya, okay, kita to the next question. Kesihatan rohani dengan kesihatan jasmani. The questions are interlinked lah in a way or another. But how is these two
Connected.
What's the connection? Ini simple.